Welcome to IVTNN's Good Morning World. The American presidential election campaign has came to an end, and so far no one is confirming that Biden will win the election because Trump is still ahead of Biden on many locations. Whereas what Trump has done so far was good for the people because the citizens' problems he understood as a businessman because he dealt with a lot more business than politics before he landed into the White House. So now what he did was that first of all he plugged the loopholes of a leakage of American citizens' taxes and he diverted that tax into the improvement of American industry and the employment sector. While Corona has came from China and affected American economy again. Now America has, according to the estimate, around $2 trillion loss on different sectors. And after this blue collar layoff, now America is facing stiff white collar layoff. Many big companies and Fortune 500 companies, all of them have been lay off its employees for some time, and there is no hope that the companies would recover since the corona is still taking its toll in countries like America and Britain a lot. Now some countries are asking why the cold regions are affecting more than the hot regions like India, because the whites have a less immunity to some kind of virus as compared to the people who live in the hot region, because the hot region is always being affected by so many kind of virus, whether it is a dengue or it is some chikungunya or it is Ebola. The Asian region and the African region has been fighting this virus quite a long time, whereas the whites, especially the people who live in the cold region, have been basking. Now once this virus of a corona has landed in the cold region, the whites have been affected more and their immunity system seems to have less defense and power to defend any kind of virus. That's what this corona episode is showing all of us. While Britain is facing the same problems of the corona, and the Prime Minister Johnson is struggling his best to defend his own country from both the economic front, at the same time there's a corona front, and the health sector is in a very bad shape and the economy is struggling after the Brexit. Overall, the plight of a British, it doesn't look very bright in the coming 2 years. As a response to America's support to Taiwan, the Chinese government has imposed sanctions on Boeing and another key plane maker, and its impact will be much higher for the American industry. Why? Because America is these days exporting more aeroplanes and fighter jets and other things than any other products, because no American products are being exported that much to anywhere in the world. Even in the Indian market, they are struggling to get it opened up. But the stiff resistance from the local shops and the local market, local producers are still prevail in the market, especially in the Indian market. China is a very huge market, but America is not getting enough access to the all American market because many of its products are not permitted in China. Whereas the China is a very good market for the many European countries, especially the German. But the Chinese aggression across the South China Sea and the Indian border has created a lot of ruckus in the global political platform. Then the countries have come out supporting India and the other small countries which are facing the belligerence of China, and they have declared complete support. So as a response, China has imposed sanctions on many products and many countries, including Australia, and now it is an American product. So what China is trying to do is that showing its economic might, it is trying to get expansive plan and its policy towards its neighbors. However, the global consensus is against China, and China may face a war very soon. Especially it will be triggered from the side of India with the support of the rest of the countries. But it won't be in the interest of India to get support from other countries. Even if they win the war, even if they contain China's aggression, then the privilege or the credit will go to the other countries. It won't be in the interest of India. If India wants to fight the war, it has to do it alone, and it has to use its own weapons developed internally and win this war, at least contain China's mighty PLA at the border and beyond that. And unless and until China surrenders Exagin and the 48,000 other parts of Indian land, India should not compromise and or accept any kind of a deal with China. It will harm India internally, in politically and economically, at the same time in internationally. No one will support India in case China will come again. The double shock of the recession and the Brexit, now European Union is still struggling with the pandemic. The pandemic has created a big hole in the pocket of the entire European Union countries, and the people, the countries which has given loan to countries like Greece and the other struggling countries from saving them from bankruptcy, now is struggling to get their money back. But there is no hope that the countries which has taken loan from big developed countries like Germany will return that money, because Germany has lost all the hopes. Why? Because the Europe is a very vast economy and vast area with different languages. At the same time, no one is willing to import the products from the Europe like it used to be once upon a time, because the most of the third world countries are now started producing whatever they want instead of importing from the European Union, paying them a high price. Because the once upon a time European Union countries used to import the raw material at a cheap rate from the third world countries, especially the Asians and Latin American countries, and manufacture and convert into the product added value and used to sell them back in a high price and created a big margin and kept all these small countries under poverty line and economically struggling with a huge gap of trade deficit. Now they have learned a lesson. Technology and communication has developed, and third world countries started producing whatever they want and reduced the import. At the same time, they have exporting. Their export has increased tremendously. So the European Union now struggling with the third shock of a pandemic now is going to create more struggle for the entire European Union, and the Europe will have a more wider hole on its pocket and struggle, and the winter will be chilly and more painful for the Europeans in the coming days. France has always been under the scanner of the terrorists for long years, because of France has come out with radical laws that would prevent Muslims from wearing veils and the skull cap. That has angered the Muslim Islamic community, and recently one terrorist has beheaded a priest or a teacher, and that it invited the protest from the Macron, who is the president of France, and which has caused a lot of impact and waves of anger across the Middle East and the Islamic world. Eventually, the Turkey and the Pakistan has united and became the voice of Islamic world recently, and they have slowly taken over the leadership of Islamic world along with Malaysia. So from this, France has become a victim of Islamic terrorism in the Europe more than any other countries, because it's a radical secular policies. So what now Macron faces is that a wrath of Islamic world, and the more and more terror attack are expected in the coming days, unless and until the France takes precautions and preventive measures very effectively. The fiscal deficit of America has slowly going down, and the employment and the economy started showing some improvement due to the stimulus injected by the Trump government, printing a lot of money. And now it shows that 33.1% the American economy has grew up in the last third quarter, and employment sector is hopeful that they will be able to solve the unemployment problem and layoff very soon. At the same time, it shows that from November 1st, the India has opened up more and allowing people to travel in the bus sitting together than the spaces, alternative spaces they have provided or made it mandatory earlier. Now the stalls, cinema halls and religious places are slowly opening up, and people started taking the active economic activities recently. Whereas the government of India says that they would vaccinate all 1.6 billion Indian citizens, which looks a little bit a Herculean task for the government of India and the all state governments. And with this, we are ending this week's IVTNN's Good Morning World. Thank you for watching this program. Have a nice day.